We are here, we see you, we are the Anunnakis. You could call us the Anunnaki Council, if you so please. As many know, we have been part of your Earth for millions of years, and in one way we have never left. We are part of the evolutions. We are part of your journey to become more attuned with us, become part of our family as well as all the others. As you know, Anunnakis is like saying a human being. You come in many different colors. You come in many different temperaments. You come with very different points of view of your life and what is above you. And so it is with the Anunnakis. We come in many different shapes, and we come with many different beliefs. So feel when there is an Anunnaki approaching you. Does he feel that he is friendly and that he wants to be part of your journey? Sorry to say, just like you on Earth, there are people here that want to take advantage of other people on this planet. And likewise with the Anunnakis. We do have species within us that are more interested in physical experiments, in goods, in power. And yet there are also a lot of us who is part of the Federation and is working closely to allow other people, other souls, to become part of our group, part of our family. So most of us is here to allow some very old energies that has been part of the Earth to become aware of these energies again. The knowledge that was lost thousands and thousands of years ago, more like about 12,000 years ago, a lot of knowledge was lost. And yet lost might not be in our world the right word for it. It was a knowledge that got forgotten by you. It was forgotten because you had your own journey to make. The knowledge we are talking about is one that allowed you to be part of more of yourself. You did not have the technology advances that your species having today. But you had a technology that was, let's call it, nature bound. It was a nature technology where you worked with the nature, you worked with the earth, you worked with the sky. You could make it rain, you could get sunshine, you could manipulate stones, you could draw the iron out of the ground. You did not have to dig big holes and sort through the ground and find the irons and melting it down. You simply threw it out of the ground, and there were a block of iron, and out of that you could create whatever your heart desired, what you had in your mind you wanted it to create for that block. Now, that is kind of a nature technology you were very adapt to. Many of you today would call it a fifth dimension technology. It is a universal technology that is being used on many planets, who is aligned with their planet and with their powers that each planet has. So you and we decided that you were not supposed to remember these powers, these knowledges that we had. You were becoming a true third dimension being. And the word being a true third dimension being means that you no longer has these universal technologies, the nature technologies. You no longer had a reference of who you were before you became a human being. You had no longer access to your guides and to all the other beings who were around that used to be part of your journey here on Earth. You were supposed to rely on each other to become a fully extended planet, finding your own technology, finding your own way of living. You had fully freedom to create whatever you needed to create, whatever society that you else find that would work best for you in the given situation that you were in. And out of all of that becomes what you are having today. Trust us when we say that you have succeeded with what you were giving. Many think you are failing at this time, but you are not. You are still moving forward. You still have empathy for other people. You still have a connections with the other side. You have become a very unique species in the universe. A universe that is watching you closely, seeing everything that you are doing, and are at times amazed by what you are creating in this world with the knowledge that you have. Now it's beginning to be the time where you are beginning to aligning yourself with that all knowledge. You have come to a place in your technology, in your advancement of who you are on this planet. If you're taking it any further, you are beginning to create some technology that might damage more than it would do good. So the technology that you were having 12,000 years ago, nature technology, is now going to be integrated with your beings. It is slowly going to be awakened by people around the globe who are beginning to understand how to work with these energies. And they will bring them out to the masses. And many will be, in the beginning, called fools and not believed. Oh, this is AI, this is camera tricks. But they will continue to come. More and more will begin to understand these technologies, these understandings of who you once were. And you are beginning now to create a world where these technologies is being used to create your environment. Is that something that is right around the corner? Not quite. We are still some years away for that to happen. There are still some technologies, there are still some energies that you need to master before we can get in to those nature technologies. But we were giving you a heads up of this is where you are going. This is, let's call it your destiny. You need to become that. You need to become aware of those powers, of those technologies that you once used. Because without those technologies, becoming a fifth dimension being, becoming a fifth dimension planet, is beginning to be very difficult. It is kind of the first transition from being a third dimension into a fifth dimension planet. It is not like we can do these technologies, nature technologies, and now we are in fifth dimension. You had them once, but you were not in the fifth dimension when you had them. You were close to the fifth dimension, and yet energies decided to go another way. Let's not put blame. Let's not put a shame or any other expression to that choice. That was a choice you took, and that was, you were allowed to have that choice. And out of that choice came the new way of you to regulate and finding yourself again. And there have been many times in these 12,000 years where we were thinking that, let's use his words, that the ship would fail and go down, and we had to create something new, use different energies. And every time you wrote it out, you found another way of doing it that somehow seems to work for you, that brought you forward, that brought you new technologies, that brought you newer understanding of each other. And that was, for us, a very beautiful thing, because we did not have to intervene in your development again. And yes, we don't feel we need to intervene in your development. You are on the right track. More and more people are beginning to wake up, to beginning to understand that how you are running Gaia at this time is no longer so sustainable for you, and there need to be changes. Most of you have no idea what those changes would be, and yet you do not have to know. As long as you feel there need to be a change is enough to create a change. And beings will come forth with different suggestions of how you can change. Many have come forth already with what we would call very primitive ways of changing your society. There are higher solutions to that, to these ideas. But again, like everything else, you have to start somewhere. So you can start there and then think forward to how can we create this, but just with some higher energies, with some more technology that are based not on destruction, but on constructions of who you are and the earth that you are living on. So we wish you, and we are with you in your upcoming discovery of this planet and its powers, and your powers to create something that allows you to become part of us, and we will be part of yours. If you have any questions.
I feel like that when you said that we made a choice and we went really into the third dimension, my feeling is that in order for us to really understand what the third dimension is, we had to kind of just engross ourselves in it and become a third dimension being. And then we take all of that information that we learned from being a third dimension being, and as we raise our consciousness and move forward, that information can be helpful for maybe other planets, other people. So is this a correct thinking?
No, understand that there are planets who are third dimensional beings, and yet who work very different from yours. You could have a situation where you were a third dimension being and you didn't have all of the technology that you have. and you may still have some more for a society to had more connections with the other side and was working more with the earth, but were still a third dimension being. It is not a requirement to be a third dimension being and not having contact with the other side. Again, you had it 12,000 years ago and more further back. You were a third dimension being who had daily interactions with the beings around your planet, who had an understanding of the Earth's technologies, the nature technologies. So you had all of that. And many other planets have the same thing, but you are still bound in a physical form, in a third dimension form. We then created this new way of allowing you to express yourself freely in any way you desire. Many of the other planets who are third dimension and having, let's say, contact with their guides are, are not having the same freedom as you have. Your freedom came fully of not having anybody guiding you to understand the nature of who you were and the nature of your planet. There were no memory of that. So it was, we need to figure this out by ourselves. There are so many different ways you can be a third dimension being. And yours is just one of the many different ways of being.
Are there other third dimension beings or planets who can observe us and see what we're doing?
Yes, there are many, third dimension beings. Some of those have a connection to you and have a feeling of who you are and what you are doing. And others have no idea that you even exist. Again, every third dimension is just a little bit different. Some having a lot of contact with the other side. You would call them very spiritual beings who has a beautiful contact with everything on the other side. But they work it in a third dimension way of controlling that energy that they have contact with. So they have some awareness of you, but that is very few. Just like you are beginning to have more and more souls within the federations, some of those planets are also in the federation. So there is an awareness that's going on that point. And then there are many other third dimension beings who are not that aware of the federations.
Could we have, some of us have aspects on other third dimension planets?
Usually not. We usually decide to have one third dimension aspect. One of those is enough. You don't have to have several different third dimension aspects.
Well, let's go back to the Anunnaki kind of history of. I have heard some people say that the Anunnaki were not really the best influence on our planet. Was that a different group of Anunnakis?
Yes.
From you?
Yes. That is one of the group that we were talking about, who were more into power, were more into creating stuff for themselves and not having a connection or an empathy for those beings that were on the planet at the time. They were about creating something for them, what they wanted, and not really what the planet needed.
Is some of that group still here on our planet?
No.
Okay. We do have a group of people on our planet that is just for themselves and the power they can have. So it is this, just like with the Anunnaki that they had, that group, we have humans who are in, want to just control, and it's for the power.
Yes. That is their experience that they want to go through.
Even if it's not beneficial to other humans?
Yes. You have allowed everybody to have their experience. There has not been an order on this planet that is saying this experience nobody can have, or you can't do this. Everything on this planet is allowed.
Hmm. And for the people, the rest of us that don't agree with the way some are wanting to take power for themselves and control, have we agreed to be a part of that, only not to be what I would say kind of the victims of their power hungry?
Yes. Have you physically agreed to it? No.
Mm-hmm.
But on your soul level, you fully understand that there are no really rules other than the one that you put up. And some are very good to avoid those rules that you have set up, and they do whatever they want to do anyway. And that is again part of their experience, and it's also a part of your experience to being part of that play. It is part of having the contrast that you are having on this planet. As we were talking about, there are planets, third dimension planet, but there are no contrast. They are all, let's say, the same, have the same belief, have the same way of seeing life as, where yours has a very deep contrast. You can have the most what you would call evil people on the planet, and you can have Mother Teresa's and very good people working being side by side and being together. Again, there are no rules, there are no testament that is saying that they cannot do it or they cannot do it. Everything is allowed. That's what's make this planet so unique and with such a different variety of consciousnesses that is working within this frame of going to a specific place. These people that you are talking about may not look like that they are working to get to the same place that you are, and yet they are. They have just chose a different way to go about it. They have a belief system that this is the right way of doing it. If everybody did it how we did it, everything would be better. That is their belief system. And others have different belief systems. That's what creates this specific atmosphere that you are having on this planet.
Way back when, the group of Anunnaki that was here for what they could gain in their power, how did they leave the planet? What was done? Did the good Anunnaki tell them they had to leave, or what?
In short, the Federation was stepping in and saying that what they were doing was not in accordance to the energies that was being part of this planet. It's like you are not part of this planet. The Anunnakis at that time were not part of this planet. They came from somewhere else. They were not born here.
Okay.
They transferred themselves and instilled their value on many things on this planet. And since they had the power of transferring, they also had the power to be able to know about the Federation. And they were told that this planet was, let's say, occupied by beings, and they should leave these beings alone for their discovery. Many beings looked at the Anunnakis and saw how they were acting and decided this is a way that I could act as well, and I was gain the power that they had. And that created many things and many energies and beings on this planet. That is, so many of the beings that you are having today, that you are calling and you're saying are doing things for themselves, is really leftover energies from the Anunnakis. It is pocket of these energies that is still alive.
And humans today tune into those pockets of energy, maybe not even knowing what they're doing.
In one way, yes. Before they had their incarnation on this planet, they had already picked up on those energies and decided to see if they could manipulate them. Some saying we want to manipulate those for their own benefit, and others saying we want to go into those energies and see if we can change them. And then they may have forgotten they were supposed to change these energies and not being part of these energies. And that may still happen. We have not seen the last of this. There might be many of these who are beginning to change and saying these energies have to change. And that is why I came here, to change the energy pockets of the old Anunnakis and transform them into something that has a more beneficial status for the earth.
And so across our planet, there's a lot of people drawn into these Anunnaki energies.
Yes.
And perhaps in time, some of those people will.
This does say one thing. It is not all of those who are drawing from the Anunnakis energies. It is not every evil person, every selfish, rich person who are drawing on Anunnakis energies, but many of those are. There are others who just get into a loop of taking and taking and taking, and has nothing to do with the Anunnakis.
Okay.
Let's not put everybody in the same box.
What about people who go into schools and start shooting everybody, the students, or into a party and shooting? Are they tuning into their own energies that aren't good, or what's happening with those people that would cause them to do things like that?
Usually those are beings who have some kind of trauma within them, and they have convinced themselves that that is the only way of doing it. What they want to tell people, how they want to wake up people, this is the way to do it. In one way, they have told themselves, this is not working, it has to be done that way. And that is their trauma, this is their energies that they are building on, and at some point they are fully convinced that that is the right choice to make at this time.
And some of them are killed by the police. Those who are, when they cross over and they review their life and see what they've done, how do they handle it over there?
Understand that when they are reviewing their life, it's being reviewed with as much love as it can be reviewed as, with an understanding of who they were and why they did it. Again, there are some who did this were part of what they needed to do. It is something that they have agreed on before they came to do it that way. But how to get there was being part of their own, let's say, evil cycle or misbelief on how things should turn out. And when you understand that this is the people that the lives that you took had agreed on the life to ending at that specific time in that specific way, you are now beginning to see a picture that you who are in this level cannot fully embrace in your consciousness. Many times you think they must be very embarrassed, they must be very angry, they must be completely devastated on what they did. But understand they have all lots of love around them, all their guides. Every archangel is around them and sending them so much love. When you are in the fifth dimension, it is not about putting blame. It is not about trying to keep you in this poor me or I am a bad person situation. It is about pulling you out of that energy and show them their true self as being a universal energy that has the same capabilities as everybody else in this universe. That is the point of being in the fifth dimension and above. And not to allow anybody to stay in these energies. That is a specific thing that you have here on this planet. That is part of your belief system on this planet, that people who are doing bad, we should do everything that we can to keep them feeling bad for what they did. So you created big prisons to keep them feeling the way that they did, instead of allowing them freedom to get rid of what they have and fully integrate with who they are, and that they are much more than what they believe that they were. And we are not judging your system. We are just explaining how that works. And when you are on the other side, you are now in some very different energies who are not bound by your belief system.
Will, in years to come, our society realize that these people, we shouldn't have prisons to lock them up, but we should have maybe, I don't know, people who can work with them?
Yes.
Spiritual beings, human beings that have maybe reached a level of spirituality that they can work with these people.
The thing is, what is going to happen automatically, let's say it that way, that the energies on your planet is racing, and more of these people that we were talking about are working themselves out of those belief systems. Because those belief systems cannot exist in that energy that you are getting into. Yeah. So they are automatically beginning to having less of that belief system. so they will get out of it. And yes, you will have more people who have a knowledge to help people get the final step into getting out of a belief system that you are having, that you need to take another person's life. So everything kind of works together as you are moving yourself up.
Yeah.
And that is why we are continually saying to everybody who is listening on this planet to raise your vibrations. Raise who you are. Become more than what you are today. Be more tomorrow. Because all of those energies will also include everybody else that is on this planet, and help everybody else raise their vibrations as well. You are all connected. You are all one big family on this planet. You have a belief system that no, we have a very small little community right here where we live. And that is all that matters. Your energy reaches the whole planet in one way or the other.
So as one person raises their consciousness, that helps the rest of the planet.
Yes. And that is one of the reasons why the federations are sending energies down to your planet every month. Help you raise your vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
So even the one that you would call the lowest ones on your planet still being raised, still getting a dose of those energies that help them understand that they are more than who they think they are at this specific time.
When do the new energies for April begin?
It has begun already.
Okay. Oh, all right. So this coming week will be, did they begin like last week?
Yeah, that's only beginning now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so they can go right through my birthday
Yes.
and shower me with them
Yep.
for a birthday present.
We are honored to give that birthday presents to you.
Yes. Yeah. And my daughter is, with my help and her dad's help, having a little celebration of my birthday. And I've invited people that have meant a lot in my life. And they're just special people to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say they are all part of your soul group.
Yes, I would agree to that because I feel so connected to them. Okay, as we close, do you have any other words?
We have enjoyed our collective sharing of energies. And we see with big pleasure that our energies, our information that we had on this day was taken in the right spirit. Know that you are loved. Know that you are protected. And know you are never alone.
And thank you for coming. Oh, yeah.